I am an adrenaline junkie. So when it comes to nursing, the higher the acuity, the better. As a float pool nurse in a pediatric hospital, I preferred going to the ICU's bone marrow transplant unit. I even trained to be an ECMO specialist. There was something about drips, lots of them. I wanted a medical pole full of pumps, and I wanted lights, and I wanted tubings, and I wanted to titrate up and down. CVVH and ECMO, roto, I was your nurse. And if a patient was decompensating, I hit the ground running to help. I know, there's more to nursing. And I know because on the first day of nursing school, my teacher sat up in the front of the room and preached about the art of caring. And it was the art that made us nurses. And that when you approach a task, you approach it with compassion, kindness, and empathy. Uh-huh. Well, that sounds nice. And I put that in my back pocket. Don't get me wrong. I love connecting with my patients. I love knowing my families, playing games with them, being with them when they were afraid. But my undergrad was in biology, and my left-sided brain resonated with the math and the science and technicality of nursing. But that's the beauty of nursing. There's a place for all of us. I remember the last patient I took care of before I transitioned from bedside nursing to management. The night before, my supervisor from ECMO calls me and says, "We need for you to take care of this patient in the cardiac intensive care unit. He's on rotoflow. So we're going to need for you to manage that. And we're going to need for you to be the bedside nurse and to manage CVVH. Now, this is normally a two-person job. But she said, not to worry. You're going to have resources." So I thought about it, and I said, "Oh, okay. I'll do it." So the next day, I show up, and I go into my patient's room, and he is an absolute train wreck. Oh, he had all the pumps, and he had the lines that I said I liked so much, but he was trying to bleed out on me. On top of that, the team was saying we may need to go on a road trip to the cath lab. I wasn't allowed to leave my patient's room because I had to manage everything. I rolled up my sleeves, and I got to work. I changed lines. I titrated up and down. I changed fluids. I'm slamming blood products in. I'm giving all kinds of Versed, fentanyl. And at the end of my shift, I opened up the door, and I walked out to give a report, and I felt like a badass. I had to give report to 2 separate nurses. And as I left the unit, I wanted to turn around, take a bow, and drop my mic. To me, I felt like I reached my high in nursing. Until about a year later, after I transitioned as a manager, I was going shopping. I was at Dillard's, and this petite older woman come running up to me, and she was just genuinely excited to see me. She looked vaguely familiar, but I just couldn't quite place how I knew her. And she knew I was struggling, so she kindly reminded me, "You took care of my son on the bone marrow transplant unit." And instantly, I knew who she was. Her son was an infant, and his prognosis was very poor. And he was an extremely fussy child, and I spent a lot of time trying to make him comfortable. He spent the majority of his life in hospital, and sadly, he did not make it. And I acknowledged, yes, I know who you are. How are you? And in a fairly upbeat manner, she said she was doing good, that even though her husband and she did not have any more kids, they had been traveling, working, and getting by. And she said, you know, I really want to thank you for everything that you did for us, for my child. In my mind, I'm thinking, well, gosh, I don't remember doing anything spectacular. I don't remember calling a medical response team, doing some crazy life intervention. And she said, we really appreciate that you figured out that our son really loved to be tightly swaddled when he was uncomfortable. And that those skills that you learned in the NICU, you taught me, so that I was able to comfort my son when he was uncomfortable. And that we loved when you used to come into the room and you start making up songs about anything while I was changing his diapers, changing the meds. And I would just sing to him and dance with him all the time. And she said, the thing that my husband and I still talk about to this day is when we came in the room and we found you reading Glamour magazine word for word to him. And you looked up at us and said that you were teaching him everything he needed to know about the ladies. I stopped and I said, was that too much? And she said, no. It made us feel normal. And you helped us connect with our son. We chatted a little bit longer and we parted ways. And I had this feeling, this warmth, and tears were actually welling up. And I thought, what if it was those moments with that patient and his parents that I became a bedside nurse? And it was one of the most rewarding experiences I felt as a bedside nurse. Thank you.